what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop.
Martin Luther King is one of my great heroes. I quote him often, and one of his great quotes of an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind.
Negroes of the United States have demonstrated that nonviolence is not sterile passivity, but a powerful moral force.
One life, it's one me in the night.
But from the very beginning, we in the Sdlp stood in the front line against violence. Violence not only had no role to play in resolving our problem, what it did was make our problem worse. The terrible tragedies of the last 30 years made our problem far more difficult to solve and underlined our failure to solve it. Because one of the worst factors of all that is that it kept reminding us that the one thing that we could never do is bring back those people who lost their lives and bring them out of their graves.
We all should be inspired by the example of this little village of Points Pass, and above all by the symbolism of those two young men living together as they lived, and tragically dying together in the way they were murdered yesterday. And I think that should make us all think.
One of the purposes of violence is to achieve victory for one side over the other. When you have a divided people, victories are not solutions. What is required is a solution which accommodates both sections of our people, which respects the identity of both sections of our people, and creates the circumstances in which all the energies of both sections of our people are working together to build our new society. If the peoples of Europe, the French, the Portuguese, the Greeks, cannot live apart, then how can we in this small corner of this small island live apart? We can't.
Et ce Parlement est le Parlement de l'espoir. Merci beaucoup.
They built institutions in Europe, respected their differences, no victory to either side, but then allowed them to work together in their substantial economic interests, and by doing that broke down the barriers of centuries. That's what we are now, I hope, going to do here.
Have the patience to work for a just and lasting peace. Reach for it. The United States will reach with you.
There is now very little support of any description in the United States for violence in our country. But there is real support for President Clinton's approach, that the real support that he wants to give us is economic. And that's something that we must harness. Because once we start working together, then one of our major tasks is to harness that massive American goodwill and translate it into real jobs and real hope, particularly for our young people. We will build a new future for all our people, in which there will be equality of treatment for all sections of our people, in which there will be equality of respect for all identities in our society. And that is not only an ideal approach, it's a real approach.